every once in a while, you're at a show, and the show doesn't have to be far away. The last time, well, not the last, one of the first times I ever talked to Chief Salka was at East Lyme High School. He had come down to do a benefit for the New London Fire Department, and I believe it was in their burn camp donation. Every once in a while, you're at one of these big shows and you see that guy, one of those guys that's a legend. I know he doesn't like me saying this, but and this guy right here, been there, done that. And we're just very excited to have him on with us tonight. But this is a little bit different. This isn't we're going to talk briefly about Battalion 18. We're going to talk a little bit about Rescue 3 and Squad 1, but that's not why we're here. John is the chief of the South Blooming Grove Fire Department up in Monroe, New York. That's up in Orange County.
Right.
And one of the things that I talked to John about is he has the same struggles that we have, and that the struggles for us could be career or volunteer, of getting the right people in, keeping the right people in, and holding on to them, and then at the same trying to develop them. And we all have that same dual-edged sword. The more we develop people, the more potential they have to leave us and go on to somewhere else, career, and maybe that career job won't let them volunteer or whatever it may be. So Chief John Salka, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
Petunia says, I know tonight's your drill night, so we're gonna get right down to business. So, right out of the box, I want to get my glasses on because I don't want to mess this up. So you started out in the city, engine 48.
Actually, I started out in the city in 34 engine.
Okay.
Midtown Manhattan, I'm proud to say, the slowest engine in Manhattan when I got there. It was quite a unique situation. I was tremendously disappointed at the exact same moment that I was tremendously excited. I was excited to be on the FDNY after having served in 2 fire departments previous to that, a volunteer and a career job. And at the very same time, I was terribly disappointed to be in the slowest engine in Manhattan, which turned out to be not such a bad place. A lot of really great guys there, but I didn't stay long, and I jumped out and I went to 11 truck, which was with 28 engine. Yes.
Okay. Then you ended up on Rescue 3.
And then I left 11 truck after a couple of busy years. All I can call it is a couple of busy years. I was very fortunate to have gotten in there when I did. There were some great people there. That's where I really turned into a firefighter. And after a couple of years there, I looked up at Rescue 3. I thought, gee, let me try this rescue stuff. I don't know how I got into, to tell you the truth. I still don't know how I got in. But I did. Captain Billy took me, and I stayed there till I got promoted. Yeah, it was a great place.
Did you do some time in Squad 1?
Listen, I promoted to lieutenant. I went back down to the Lower East Side where 11 truck was, but I went to 18 truck down the block a little bit. Stayed there for a very short time, and they called me up. Tony Lindbergh did, and said, hey, Lieutenant, we're going to start a new command. It's called Special Operations Command. We're going to take the rescues and the squad out of the battalions that they're in. We're going to put in a separate little command. Would you be interested in jumping in as a covering officer now? I had a regular spot as 18 truck. I was assigned.
Yeah.
And I did. I jumped out and I went back to SOC, which enabled me to work in all the rescues and Squad 1 all over the city as needed, sort of like a substitute teacher. And eventually I landed a spot in Squad 1 as a lieutenant. Yeah, and I stayed there till I made captain.
Nice. Oh, that's great. One of the things you said that was really important, and I before I get carried away, when you got to the truck, you said you spent a lot of time on 11, right? 11 truck. That's where you started honing your craft.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think that's one of the themes we've heard a couple of times now, and we see it here too, but in different level. But we send these guys, they spend months at the fire academy. They come out with their Fire 1, Fire 2, their rescue, their all just pump, just all this stuff. But when they come in back to your town, they're still in your town, and it may be the first time they've ever been there, right? And there's still that customization or on-the-job training of, yes, that's the book way to do it. But in our case, when you have 4 people, and that's everybody, we're not sending two guys up on the roof. We're not able to do the floor above or whatever, whatever it may be.
Right,
But
right.
it's the same thing wherever you are. We just change the names.
I kid around about that all the time with my buddy Rick Lasky. We teach a company officer academy through Columbia Southern University all around the country, 3-day program. It's wonderful. And part of it talks about training. And, obviously you're big at the training. I'm big at the training. And I always ask the question of the audience. I say, can you get good? Maybe not really, really good, but can you train somebody on training alone and make them good? Some guys shake their heads no. And I say, oh, the answer is yes. I said, and I got 2 sons that were Marines that prove it. They never leave Paris Island. They never shoot a real bullet at a real enemy. Yet in 13 weeks, they are ready to go. Now, do they get better when they start working in the real world and being deployed and going to real battles and stuff like that? Absolutely. But training alone can produce good firefighters, can produce a good model, a good starting position. And then, of course, as the years go by and the months go by, and if you keep in-service training going on and a little bit of realistic training, and then you catch a couple of runs and some fires before you know it, you got some people that are pretty good at what they do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we see that. I was thinking about this the other day though, is so we have that group of firefighters. They're like, they've been in the fire department on the job, whatever, between 5 and 10 years, right? In my mind, they're kind of like sophomores, right? They made it through freshman year and they're ready to go on to college. Yep. There's a whole lot of middle stuff that's still got to happen right before they're ready to do that and be able to function by themselves or move on or move up or whatever it may be. One of the in my personal life and in our area, one of the big moments that changed a lot of things is when you wrote the article "Get Out Alive" in Firehouse, and that got published in Firehouse. I think when we were talking, you said that's like 97, right?
I think it was 94.
94. Okay.
Yep.
But again, it really, and I think you and Rick have did a lot of that stuff early on too. It really changed the whole thought process of not only saving ourselves, but we're willing to put ourselves in danger and in high risk when a life's at risk. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't have a backup and a backup and a backup to make sure when something bad happens, right?
Yeah, a little history about Get Out Alive. It's interesting. Get Out Alive, I put Get Out Alive together. I wrote that article sort of as a response to what was going on in the job at the time in the FDNY. We lost 11 firefighters in line of duty deaths, not falling off a rig somewhere or dying of a heart attack. And I'm not minimizing, anybody who's lost in that manner, but we lost 11 firefighters in 23 months, not even 2 years, 11 line of duty funerals. I was the captain of 48 engine at the time. And the guys were reeling. They really, what's going on, Cap? And I said, listen, I don't know what's going on. We all went to the funerals. We did this, we did that. I started looking at what was killing everybody, what they were dying from. And basically it was that they couldn't get out of the building. Guys were inside the building and something happened to them. Something happened. They get lost. They get trapped. They fall to a floor. They lose water and they couldn't get out. And that's how I designed. And that's why I designed Get Out Alive. And I wrote that article about the ladder bail, the rope slide, the wall breach, and staying oriented in the room. 4 skills that if you had them and you kept them up to snuff, you probably got a much better chance of staying alive if you run into trouble. That's the short story about Get Out Alive. We started doing it around the country. And then I hooked up with Rick at FDIC. We were doing 300-400 guys every year. We banged them out, man, for a long time, for about 10 years.
We actually, we had a training house, an old house that was abandoned that the state of Connecticut was kind enough to let us use. And as a result of all that, we climbed up in the rafters, we put anchor points in, we did the whole thing. And we started running everybody through that evolution. Again, the same things you just said. Yep. They'd be doing a search. All right, where's the front of the building? I don't know. Well, listen, do you hear the generator? Do you hear the engine? Where was that? Where was that when you got here? Where was this, right? All that kind of stuff. And then we had a big crisis. So remember the guy from I think it was San Francisco. He does a head first bailout, but he doesn't do it right. And he had never practiced it. And the ladder was wrong. So now we're teaching it for the recruits at the fire academy, our state academy. And we got called into the commissioners meeting and they said, tell us why we should still do that. Now, luckily we had a local fireman, Jonathan Page, got caught in a flashover and he came down head first, spun around and then they hit it, and then he went back up and was able to continue what he was doing. I said, if this kid hadn't had this, and he had gone to one of your classes, I said, if this kid hadn't had this class, he wouldn't be here right now. So
we got several emails and phone calls and comments from guys saying, thank God I took the class. You know, nothing dramatic, not but more than a dozen of guys giving exact stories about, boy, am I glad I took that class. It saved me one night, you know.
And it changed, it swung. I mean, so we felt bad about the guy who obviously who was trying to do the right thing, but had never been to the class. And he's just trying to show these other kids, and he's in a bad spot. He doesn't want to say he doesn't know it, whatever. Right. But I said, you got to do this. So we kept that. When we did our smoke divers program, that was one of the skill that we made them repeat over and over and over and over. Some of these kids got pretty good. They could slide down the outsides. Like the kids that were painters, they could come down the outside. All right, so let's go on to upstate New York. Right now, were you on when you were on the job? Did you live up there?
What do you mean, where I live now?
Yeah.
Well, I was actually born and raised in Long Island in Nassau County. I was a volunteer in Mineola, which is a great volunteer fire department out there.
Yeah.
I actually left Mineola to go to the state of Florida with a friend of mine, and we got on a job in Titusville, Florida, which is a small career department. We spent a couple of years down there. Then the FDNY called both of us, and we came back. When I came back, I went back to Mineola, and then met my wife on St. Patrick's Day after the parade. Her mom had a little summer place up here in the Catskills, and I ended up moving up here when I was in 11 truck. I moved up to Orange County, and I've been here ever since.
Now, did you a friend of mine, Jim? Jim Duffy from the FDIC? Did you know him when he was in Mineola?
Who?
Jim Duffy.
Oh, very well. I was just with him out in wherever we just was, Seattle,
Minnesota, right, or something, Missouri, wherever you were, right?
Yeah. He ended up up in Wallingford, Connecticut. Yeah.
Well, he just posted. He posted one of the Christmas parades pictures from Mineola the other day. So let's.
Yeah, we both got a good history there.
Oh, he's just such a great guy. All right, so let's talk about. We'll talk more about some of the stuff you've produced, but let's talk about South Blooming Grove. So what it looks like is it's like 17 square miles. You got like 2,000 people up there.
Yeah, it's a small volunteer department, but not such a small community. You know, the standards vary from place to place. Long Island is very suburban and urban, and this is pretty. Some places are rural. I mean, I live in a log house in the middle of the woods. I can't even see another house from where I live. I get bears on my camera going up my front porch and stuff, and then 10 miles from here is Newburgh, which is an urban city with fires every day and cops getting shot and everything else. And so it varies up here. I'm in a very nice, let's call it rural suburban community. One station, one firehouse. They've been there about 50 years now. And we get 2 engines and a truck and a rescue. We bought a couple of used rigs over the years and a couple of new ones here and there. Our membership is, like many places, dwindling slowly but surely. And we're trying to keep people active, both young and old. Actually, my young guys are the easy guys. Those are the guys staying around. I'm having a hard time getting my guys with 15 and 20 years to come out after midnight, you know?
As a matter of fact, I do. I understand that correctly. What I did, Chief, is when I retired, went back home or went back to the department. I'd already been a member at least once or twice too. And I do incident safety, but those medicals at 3 o'clock in the morning, right. I don't know. I just have trouble, I have trouble focusing on my pager that time in the morning. It just doesn't, it hasn't. Now, if it's a job, that's a different story, So, matter of fact, we might as well use this forum. If someone's looking for a ladder truck, I think the ladder truck at the firehouse may be up for sale.
Our ladder truck is long gone. You know what I did with it?
Oh, no.
We donated it to Rick Lasky in his small volunteer department. He has since joined the volunteers. When he moved out of Louisville, he moved a little bit north and he joined a volunteer fire company. And we donated our ladder truck. Him and another guy came up and drove that ladder truck, an 81 Seagrave, 100-foot rear mount from South Blooming Grove all the way back down to Texas. And they just had it tested 2 days ago, and the ladder passed, and they're in business.
I remember he put a video on Facebook of the two of them driving back. Remember? I didn't realize.
Back. Yes, he did. He did a great job. They're very happy with it.
So you're replacing that, or did you replace it already, or?
You know what we did? We bought another refurb rig from a place that we bought that from actually about 30 years ago. And we're in the process of putting that together, getting a couple of things fixed and adjusted and done our way. And we just put it in service a couple of days ago. We still have some more work to do on it.
And again, see, that's something that is a small town, that is a small department thing, right? We can't spend $1.5 million on a new rig.
Heck no.
Right. And we're gonna have trouble with our taxpayers saying, hey, listen, we need this much money, and we're using the ladder 12 times a year.
Right. We bought a rescue a couple of years ago, maybe 10 or 12 years ago, and we bought a new one. But you know what? We bought a commercial cab and a rescue one body. So we did it as reasonably financially as we could. And it's still serving, and it'll be there for a long, long time, So that's one of the other things you got to do in a smaller department, career or otherwise.
So we had one of our Chris Cullinaire comment that he's having he's going the other way. He's got the senior guys are getting up in the middle of the night, and the young kids are having trouble motivating. So why don't we go down that road?
Sure.
Why don't you go first? And what have you found is a tactic or a concept that's worked for you?
And it varies. Different groups. I've found success with different groups doing different things, obviously. Rick and I talk about this. Actually, it's another thing we talk about in our Company Officer Academy is, how to keep the guys into it, how to keep guys coming around, how to keep guys coming out the drill and out the runs. Anybody can make drills on Saturday afternoon or Friday night at 10 o'clock, run out the door with the blue light or whatever. But how do you get people to show up for a car accident at 2 a.m, on a Thursday night when a lot of people are still going to work? I happen to be retired. We happen to have a handful of retired guys, but we have a lot of guys that are still young, just going to school, just landed jobs, guys working 2 jobs and things like that. So one of the things that we'd had success with, Rick had success, and some of the folks we teach with and for is, especially for the young guys, young guys are attracted to different things than let's say middle-aged guys or older guys. And one of them is a gym. One of them is working out. Every place can't afford a quote unquote gym, but I'll tell you what, there's some stuff that if you can buy a used rig, you can buy used gym equipment. If you can find a corner of the apparatus floor to put, lockers or to put the foam, you might be able to clean stuff out and make a small area. We've known a couple of guys that spent some money, again, depending on your financial situation. Some guys put up a nice gym, 2, 3, 4 machines with the padding on the floor and all that, and a little stereo or something that they can play music on. And other guys get just one or two things, one or two machines that the guys are interested in. Suddenly they're at the firehouse, instead of sitting around drinking soda pop and having sandwiches and cheese doodles, suddenly they're working out. So we've had some success with that.
That's like another thing is like a twofer. That's like a twofer.
Yeah.
Right. You're getting twice the bang for your buck because you're getting more shape. And plus there's even the simple things, that spotting someone else. There's that you're building that camaraderie.
And the social thing is happening around working out.
Right.
The other thing financially is there's a lot of money out there for recruitment and retention and gym equipment and stuff like that. It counts. That's the stuff you can get grants for. So that's very effective as well. That's the first thing. The other thing is, we like the Xbox generation. We talk about the Xbox and frankly, Charlotte, I don't know if you put an Xbox in front of me, if I would even know how to turn it on. I know I've never used one, but
I'm with you, bro.
And that's fine. But for some of the younger generation guys, they'll hang around a firehouse on a Friday night from 7 p.m. till 2 o'clock in the morning playing Xbox. And you know what? If it gets them to hang out in the firehouse, if it gets them to be there with the other guys are maybe watching a movie, other guys are maybe listening to a podcast, and all of a sudden, again, you're getting that social encounter going on, So sometimes little investments go a long way,
We were, it's funny, I walked up to the day room. I can't remember when it was, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It sounded like World War III was going on. And I stuck my head in there, and there's 3 guys. They're battling whatever. I don't know these games. My kid did.
Whatever they're doing.
And whatever they're doing, and they love it.
And it works. And for the older guys, sometimes now, the other thing I thought about today that I specifically wanted to mention was, and the other thing that you can always remember is some good, solid drills and training. You don't have to be having all this other social stuff going on without worrying about that. And I tell some of my young officers, I had a little bit of I don't want to call it a coup, but about 3 or 4 years ago, a bunch of the really young guys who were joining, we were getting a lot of new members, but they were really young, 18, 19, 20-year-old guys. Eventually, they had sort of a little majority, at least as far as the active people counted. And they came in one election year and took over. They took over. They displaced a couple of the older lieutenants that were in there that were, hanging around. And all of a sudden I had boom, boom, boom. I had 4 brand new lieutenants, all under 23 years old. Now, I don't want to say I wasn't happy about it. It was a little bit of a surprise, but it turned out to be a blessing because these guys have recruited another 6 or 7 guys into the company. They're young. They're full of piss and vinegar. They love training. Now, they always want stuff from me, so it's a little bit of a chore for me too now sometimes. Matter of fact, today they sent me something. We have our own little in-house, email, and they sent me something. Say, hey, Chief, look at this. This forcible entry door is available. Only $1,000. What do you think? You know what? I typed right back to them without calling anybody or checking. I said, call them and tell them we'll take it. I don't know where I'm going to get the money, but I'm going to get the money from somewhere. And we're going to buy that forcible entry door so these kids can jump on there with their tools and start to get good at forcible entry. Sometimes just a good weekly drill, a good, interesting, hands-on weekly drill. Sometimes that'll keep more guys in than all the Xboxes,
And it's got to be along that same line. It's got to be a legit drill. And you know what I mean? They actually want to get there's times when you used to do drills and like, we're going to do the SCBA and it's like, we're just looking at it. And then that's not what they want. That's good for the probation, the we call a fundamental training program where they've never had one on before. So we just do that. That's not what they want. They want to be crawling on their back, fighting the wires. They want to be going through tubes. They want to be going through window. You know what I mean?
That requires an effort on the part of the senior officers, the chiefs, the training officer, if you have one. They gotta, I went to the trouble and the expense of putting up a little banner on the wall that said, drills for the month of, and there's a line. You write the month, January, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and it's a topic and an officer. And if you can say, listen, I got 6 officers. You only have to do it once every 6 weeks. It's not a hardship for an officer. Pick the week that's convenient for you. Pick the topic that you're interested in teaching and put it up there. And now all the young guys and old guys as well come in and look at it and say, wow, oh, okay. 2 weeks from now is the H.O.T drill. I definitely want to jump in on that. I need a little help with that thing, So they get the little anticipation, a little planning ahead.
That's what we do a thing called fundamental training program. We bring in, we have a Navy installation close to us. So we've been very lucky. We pull a lot of Navy kids in. And some of these guys are starting to be the chiefs in the Navy. So they have their, they have that focus. They have that, that way.
It's important.
But that's what so we have 15 guys starting the first week of January and as recruits, which is nuts for us. It's 15 brand new people. Now some of those have been firefighters other places. Some of them have not. Some of them are literally just off of a boat. Now the good news and the bad news, we get them in, but then we lose them in 3 years. They're going to potentially they get shipped out,
That's another problem. And I've suffered that problem in South Blooming Grove as well. We've lost guys to other counties. We've lost guys to other states. Guys have moved away to go somewhere else. Obviously, they're not tied down to a little volunteer fire department. They have jobs and careers and girls and wives and other stuff. And I fully understand that. And I'm happy about it. Some guys have moved on to be state troopers in other states or career firefighters in Connecticut, which is wonderful. Or even just going south to another county. You can't stop that. Guys, guys and gals sometimes have things that happen in their lives where they want to move. But as many guys as have left that way, I've had some guys roll. Matter of fact, just recently I had 3 new members just join. And, friends of the guys that are there already, they recruit their buddies in there. Most of them are sincere. Most of them do want to join and do want to train and do want to be a firefighter. Once in a while, somebody joins because their crowd is there and they want to hang out. And eventually we see what's going on. And, we get with them and say, listen, you want to jump in and do some work here? You're welcome. Your buddies are here. If you're just here for the social end, it's not going to work. We don't have enough seats on the rig to put guys that are here to socially, And most guys are pretty responsive to that. But I can't complain about people leaving. Sometimes they do. I don't like to train people up and have them leave like that, but it happens.
You know what the trick, it's a pride thing, is that I think we're very proud when we have all these folks that do well and they go, they get all the certifications and then the job's opening, right? And then you're like, it's really a two-edged sword. On one side, you don't want them to leave. On the other side, you don't want to stunt them because you want them to advance on. And sometimes you can get away with both. Sometimes you'll end up with, they may be in a career job where their union doesn't necessarily enforce all the rules.
Right.
So they don't care what they do at their nights off. Right. Other guys, that's not necessarily the case. So we end up losing them.
I was just up in Ellesmere, New York, Ellesmere Fire Department up near Albany, a past member of South Blooming Grove. And left and moved up there. One of his sons lived up there with his grandkids, and he spoke to his chief, and they invited me to come up and do a training day a week or two ago, and it was great. You know, seeing one of the members I had spent a long time in South Plymouth Grove with as a member, and so it's nice for you guys to get out there and travel. We got a couple of guys that are chiefs in places around New York State here and there, so it's nice to see some got in,
Oh, yeah.
and they get bit by it, they love it, and some of them move on, some of them stay. We got plenty of guys that stay too.
It's great when your proteges go on and they achieve whatever's next, because that's what the whole deal is. We're building tomorrow, right? It's not about now. It's about
Tomorrow's leaders
tomorrow.
and successes is what it's all about. And, you know, some people have an official mentor program. You don't even need that. Sometimes the young guys look up to the older guys. Sometimes, you know, one or two older guys have play a little bit bigger role in developing the new guys, you know, and that's wonderful when that happens. Some of the old guys are good firefighters, but they're not teachers. They're not instructors. You know, they're there and they work and they show up and they participate in everything, but they're really not, I don't want to say they don't set a good example, but they don't have those skills. Some of my guys do. Some of my guys are New York City cops and New York City firefighters, and they're just naturals at passing the information along and running a good drill or having a job or a little fire or a little crash and coming back to the firehouse and talk to the guys about it. So that's good as well.
One of the things that I was lucky that my mentor said to me is, watch that guy. Watch what that guy does. And if you have a question, you ask him. Don't ask, if you watch what he does, because this guy was an incredible pump operator, longtime fireman. But when it came to pumps and water and hydraulics and he was just like crazy. And my boss said, watch what he does. And if you don't understand whatever he does, you ask him like right then, unless it's going to.
And I'd be happy to help you. You need guys like that. Yep.
Yeah. What else do you do anything financially? Do you guys have any like call list, or they get so much per call or an annual thing?
Absolutely not. New York State doesn't allow anything like that. And quite frankly, I'm a big fan of that. That's something that I think could really save, you know, some of the floundering volunteer fire departments across the country, New York State in particular, because like on-call firefighters or part-paid firefighters or part-time guys, it's all, you know, out the window. It's really not allowed in New York State. Either you're paid or you volunteer, you know. Now, some places are doing this houseman thing. They hire a guy as a houseman or two guys, and they work Monday to Friday in the firehouse, 8 o'clock to 4, 8 to 5, and they clean the place and vacuum it and wax the floors, and the place is immaculate. But when the bells go off, when the pages go off, guess what? They're volunteer firemen. They are members of that company. And like lots of other places, like hardware stores and supermarkets, you know, they let them go. So these guys jump on a rig. At least we get 2 guys on a rig. It calls out right away. Now we just got to wait maybe for 1 or 2 more people to show up. We get a rig out the door. So that's a doable thing, but it's expensive. You're talking about paying salaries to somebody as a maintenance worker or something like that. You go up to Massachusetts and New England, a lot of places have on-call. A friend of mine retired from NYPD. He was a past chief in South Plymouth Grove. He lives in Myrtle Beach now, and he joined Horry County down there as a volunteer firefighter, and they get paid per call. I forget if it's $18 or $19 a call, or if they go sit in a firehouse for 3 or 4 hours for a certain period of time, they get dollars for that. He goes like every Friday. He spends like 8 hours in the firehouse. He's got a volunteer engine in with a fully career rescue. There's a 4-person staffed career rescue in that firehouse, and his engine, 45, sits there empty. And when they get called, the volleys all come and jump on and go. Nobody's on duty standing by, but he does. And he gets his runs in, and he comes at night for calls. And 1 day a week he hangs out. He says he makes, I forget what he makes a year, $12,000 a year by the time he adds up all his hours. I think that's wonderful stuff. The guy could be working or retired and commit to a certain amount of hours a week or a day or a night, and you end up with people hanging around a little bit more, getting a couple of bucks. It doesn't cost them a whole lot of money, but you know, it's doable.
We had a thing where you made so much per point, and there's a lot of rules for how the points are put together. But one of the things we did is we said, if you come out and hang out at the firehouse for 4 hours, we're going to give you a point. Right. Now that at times that point was worth $57. There were times I was paying $57 a call, right? And we took care of that, and we ended up changing that money over to equipment money instead of call money. But yeah, that was one of the things we said. If you come to any civic event that we're sponsoring, but if you come and hang out for 4 hours, number one, you're going to get the training for the day. right? You're going to do whatever the guys are doing for the day. So you may get a tour in, whatever it is, right? You're going to be part of that company, part of that group for the day. And if you're there for 4 hours, we'll give you a point.
Now, New York State has LOSAP. I know lots of other places have
Yep.
it as well. Late to Service Awards Program.
Yep.
And now that was a good change. That was a good thing that they did. And it really does work. It really does keep people around a little bit more and a little bit longer. And obviously there's a point schedule there. You make a run, you get a point. You make a meeting, you get a point.
Yep.
You make a drill, you get a point. And there's a certain amount of points you have to make. I think you can make up to half your points. It's 50 points a year. So once you satisfy your yearly requirement, then that year you get credit for it. And at the end, it's like guys get varying amounts of monthly payments for that. But some guys are making a couple of $100, 3, 4, some even more than that. After they do 20 or 30 years now. But there's something that you're sort of working on. It's sort of like putting money in the bank. You put your time in now, your weeks, your months, your years, you stay active. And at the end of the road, when you turn 62, you start collecting a little reward every month for the rest of your life, which is not bad either.
We had we meant a huge military or a huge Navy population. So what we did is we did it by quarter. So you had to qualify for each quarter because we had guys that were gone for 6 months. They're on a fast attack, or on a boomer. They're gone. They're out in the water someplace. So what we did was we said, all right, we're going to do it in quarters, and you need 4 quarters, right, to get credit for that year. And
Right.
so we could. And what we did with the insurance companies, they allowed us to give half points. So we would do that if you were gone for 6 months, but you were there for 6 months and met the criteria, you'd get a half a point added towards your end
Right.
result.
Right. You can get
And we had
creative to
guys-
try and help the guys out and help them help you,
And we had guys that were making $400 or $500 a month who had been there a real long time.
Right.
Right. And they also were very active. So they ended up
Sure.
walking away with a little
Money
bit.
well
of something,
spent. Yep.
right. What was anything else that works good for you?
Activities is good too, and you don't want to always get away from fire activities, meaning training and stuff like that. But the social end of the volunteer fire service is real. The volunteer fire department is not a career fire department. And anybody who thinks it is wrong. There are a lot of people in the volunteer fire service that are there for the fire duty and for training and then to serve their community like career people do too. But there's a whole other element there that's ripe. It's ripe for the picking. And I think it really does help keep people around when there's other stuff going on in the firehouse, and which is great. There's another whole structure in the firehouse. It's the civil offices. We got a president, a vice president, a secretary, a treasurer. We get monthly meetings. Generally, that has nothing to do with tactical operations or training. Generally, it's the company end of it. And if you have a good company and an active company and a good board of officers, civil officers, generally that fire department is going to be a little bit more successful. I think they're going to keep their people in longer, and people are going to be more active in the fire end of it as well. Very few people come just to go to the parties and the meetings and the fun stuff, but it keeps them around for everything, I think.
So we 5 months ago, we started serving food at the monthly meeting. Just simple stuff. We have a little team that gets together an hour before. Actually, we actually deep fried a turkey for the November meeting. But so we get together, right? And we get together ahead of time, and it's just the kitchen opens up a half an hour before the meeting. You come in and we have a meeting room. We also have like a banquet hall. So they'll sit around the banquet hall and they start, you get that talking. Hey, what's going on? Blah, blah. But we've seen an increase in the number of people. Of course, more people got off of Zoom, but we've seen an increase in the number of people, and people that didn't normally used to come are now coming to the meetings. And
we did the same exact thing. We did it about, a couple of years ago now. Somebody came up with the idea and said, why don't we do, let's do a meal. Let's do a food for the company meeting night. And it's been going steady since then. And it absolutely pulls more guys in, and then they get more involved in the company. And before you know it, they're running for civil office or for company officer, or they're just adding their 2 cents to a discussion in a meeting about something that we're planning on doing. We do a car show every year now. We make
Really?
a couple of grand on that. Tremendously successful. We did a car show out of nowhere. Our first year, we had a great car show. We've done it every year since, except for the COVID. We have obviously a Halloween party and a Christmas party, a costume party for Halloween, couple of things during the summer, a picnic and things like that. We were even this year talking about maybe getting a little camper trip together, or a canoe trip with the guys, or a ball game, get a bus and go down to the Mets or the Yankees or something. So those are not big things. Those are not big dollars. And some of them don't even cost them, the company, anything. The car show, for example, the company made money. We had to expend money to get it, but then we made it after that. And I'll tell you what, those are all very positive things.
I like that car show idea. I'm gonna have to pack.
Oh, car show is a great
up.
idea. I'd be happy to help you. Afterwards we can talk a little bit about that. Let you know how we did it. The president ran that. He's really into it.
The local Napa has got a small parking lot, right? And he does one on Friday nights in the summer, right? And it's not every week, it's maybe once a month. But we've got a firehouse right on the main drag which is would be custom made for a car show, because we've got this humongous long parking area.
Perfect. And it's for the fire department. There are people that'll come out, even guys that'll come and show their car and pay the $20 or whatever it is. I don't know the numbers right, but the car's got to pay a couple of bucks to come in. And we even let some vendors come in and sell car stuff. And yeah, it's been very successful. And the guys love it. They had a great time.
Little popcorn, a little hamburger.
You know what? Another thing we did, it's unrelated to the car show, but we did it about 2 years ago. We went and bought like a Class B shirt. So we got a blue shirt with SBGFD and the guy's name on it with a patch on it. And we wear them for all our little events. Like if we have a coin drop or the car show or anything that we're doing, it's not Firematic or a drill. Sometimes to standby, we'll go down to Rockland County. They'll be going to their parade. We go down to Congress. And then when we have our county parade, Congress comes up to us and stands by. We wear our job shirts for that. So little stuff like that, the guys just love. And it brings everybody together like a team.
We do too. So our deputy, once you're in the company, you get 2 shirts. You get a dark blue one, golf shirt, and that's for calls. That's for summertime calls. We want you to have some kind of ID on, right? So you could be in any kind of t-shirt, but this is a nice little golf shirt. And then we have a maroon
out of the pool in your backyard, right? Yeah.
And then we have a maroon one, and that's for social events, like if we host something, like this. So last Sunday we had 20 guys show up, 20 guys and gals show up to collect for Santa's run. Did the whole town in one day. Nice. 2 different teams, and we collected stuff for social services. Nice. Right? You got to see it took 4 tables all the way stacked up and underneath to worth of stuff. There was so much stuff.
Publicize that. You got to make sure you get put in a local newspaper. Take some pictures, and then people like, hey, look at those good folks at the Volunteer Firehouse.
Yep, they did. They put it out on. We have a Facebook account and stuff, and Heidi got that out on that. But again, there's stuff like that and the people were running. I mean, our community is so great. They come running out of the house with the fire trucks and the toys and
nice
and everything. You know what I mean? But it's a team. It's a whole thing. But you can't do that with 3 people.
No,
it takes.
Here's another idea that I don't know if I came up with it or I heard it somewhere else, but I'm working on it. I have not done this yet, but I love this idea. This is a recruitment idea, recruitment and retention, right? Now, we don't have a lot of guys, really. We get around 30 guys, let's say, right? And I said, if everybody, not even everybody, even if I selected 10 or 15 guys, or if 10 or 15 guys stepped up to volunteer to do it, if it wasn't mandatory, I said, it's an invite program, right? Instead of putting a sign out, members needed. I mean, that might attract somebody in, but it might not, or it might, who knows who it might attract in, right? Instead, you make up a real nice card, right? A 2-sided card. The front side has a picture of the firehouse, maybe the rigs, maybe you pick a couple of pictures of the guys. The back side says, dear so-and-so, blank line, right? You give these cards out to the guy. It says, dear so-and-so, you write one of your buddies' names in there. Dear Tom, your name has been submitted as a guy that possibly might, join our volunteer fire department and make it a better place. We're inviting you to come down one Wednesday night, and your sponsor with a blank line, and the guy's name that's in the company puts his name there, right? Has invited you to come down on this date. Meet us at the firehouse. We'd like to show you around, show you what benefits you can accrue by being a member of the volunteer fire department. We have a low SAP retirement thing. We have social functions during the year. We run a car show. We have monthly meetings where we have a dinner. You can make some new friends. You get full gear, training, and everything at no cost to you. And you're a member of a group. So we have and you tell guys, give this to somebody you know. Your guy across the street that works for United Parcel Service, or the guy that lives next door that's a mechanic in town, or a guy that you know that's a cop somewhere. Go to him and say, hey, Tommy, I want to ask you something. Yeah, what's up, Billy? Here's a card. I want you to take this and go home and think about it. Talk with Mary about it. Maybe if you can come down and give us one night a week, or 2 nights a month or something. And it's different than just for people that want to join. Instead, it's an invitation from one guy to another guy, from a neighbor to another neighbor. I said, boy, would I love to get, if I got 3 new guys a year that way, I would be on top of the world. I'd be on top of the world,
You know how a church grows, Chief? Youth program. One teenager sees another teenager. He says, man, I just went away to this camp up in New Hampshire. I had so much fun. I got to shoot this. I got to do this. I got to go this, blah, 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 blah. Man, it was so cool. How'd you get there? Well, my church sent us. We went up with the church. And man, you got to come. We got rock and roll music. We got blah, blah, blah. And we do this game and we got that thing. We have bouncy houses, whatever it is. So now this kid starts coming to the youth program. Pretty soon, after like 2 months, right? The parents are going, what? Tell me about this. Next thing you know, the parents are there on Sunday morning. And again, if you have an warm, open, and it's the same thing for the firehouse, right?
Environment,
If somebody knocks on the door and the guy goes, yeah, I'm interested in joining.
Come back Wednesday night. Yeah, close the door. Yeah.
Right. Boom, done. It's over. The guys, even if it was one of those invited guys, he's gone, I don't know who you were talking to, but the guy I met was a jerk. Whoops, I almost slipped.
Absolutely.
The jerk.
There's a lot. We've covered a lot so far.
Well, that's why you're here. All right, now so I kind of started it there. Tell me, if you're willing to share it, tell me something that didn't go well. Tell me something you're never going to do again.
Let me think about that. That's interesting. Well, there's always stuff that doesn't go well. It's just, gosh, I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this question. Do you think we can so let's go down the training. I'm just going to throw a softball out there. Do you think we can mandate too much stuff? We can mandate too much training. We can mandate too many responsibilities on a person that's trying to work a full-time job and take care of their kids at school.
Absolutely. You can mandate too much of anything. If there's too many meetings, if there's too many hours of training, and like I've always said, most volunteer fire departments, at least that I've been exposed to, and there's certainly others that do other things, most volunteer fire departments have one night a week that they meet at the firehouse. It's either training or a drill or a meeting, right? We're first Wednesday's a drill, second Wednesday's a meeting, third and fourth a training. And if we have five Wednesday nights in a month, the fifth one is Chief's night. We still check the rigs and the radios and the fuel and put everything in service. And everybody goes upstairs. We order a couple of pizzas and we have a little bit of a social night. So that only happens a couple of times a year, but that's an extra little treat that we throw in. But can you do too much training? Absolutely. Now, when I was in Mineola, we used to do training on Monday nights, every Monday night, which was great. I lived and died for it. I loved it. And then Sunday morning, there was driver training, just for driving. You'd show up Sunday morning with a cup of coffee and a roll, or you'd get on the rig and we go stop at the deli and get coffees and rolls. And you drive around with 4 or 5 guys on we had a tiller rig back then, a 72 Seagrave 100-foot aerial tiller rig. And you just drive around the village and then pull over. Somebody else would jump in the front seat. He would go in the back. Somebody else would drive for a little bit with the officer up front. Now, there's two days a week, but it's not mandated. It was just an extra little option you could do. I've never had any success for getting it going. I tried a couple of times and I just can't get it. But you can't have too much. Listen, there's a minimum what you have to make. Minimum number of runs for the year, minimum number of maybe meetings and training. And if they make the minimum, they're in there. You try and motivate them maybe to get a little bit more under their belt, but you can't wear them out that they don't come back, because there's real lives going on out there. There's families and kids and college and second jobs and all sorts of stuff,
So my company does studies, and we did a study down in Pennsylvania, and I took all the hours that were not fire response hours. So that took all the training, but they sold things for your mailbox. They sold pies. They ran a festival, a carnival for a week, which they only made like $1,100 on for a whole week. They had mandatory all this training. So that the group of like 10 or 12 of them, they put in 3,500 hours of
Oh.
non-response time, and they couldn't get anybody to, they, and I'm just sharing this, they scheduled these classes that were very technical, like rope or something, where you got to go 5 times over a month and a half.
Right, you got to make the whole class, yeah.
And you can't miss them. And then they'd find out that they couldn't finish. They would end up with like 3 people graduating out of 20 because everybody could go the first 2 nights, but they couldn't, they were done. They were done by the time they just couldn't make it.
I'll tell you, we're very fortunate because where I am in Orange County, we have a absolutely wonderful county fire service organization structure, right? We have a county fire coordinator, deputy coordinators. We have coordinators for every one of the battalions. We're broken into battalions, and we have an Orange County Fire Training Center. It's a beautiful place. I remember when I was a state instructor years ago, that's when they first built it. It's been modernized since then. We're on our 2nd generation burn building there, and they run state classes and county classes there. There's a guy there full time, does a great job. He just got the New York State Association of Fire Chiefs Training Award last year. And what's nice is I have an officer, one of my officers in South Plymouth Grove is the training guy, and he gets the flyers all the time and the notifications. He puts it up on a bulletin. Hey, there's emergency vehicle operations training class coming. There's a RIT training class. There's a lot of company, tools, forcible entry class. He puts them up, and the guys sign up. We have to approve them. We have to fill the forms out.
Right.
If they make it, they make it. If they don't, they don't. They don't take too kindly up there to guys taking 1 or 2 classes and they're not finishing. So they put a little pressure on them up there. But that's nice when you have a larger authority, a bigger group above the fire department itself that are running classes that you can feed guys to. And then they start meeting other guys as well, which is great. Once in a while, I got to drive a pumper up there for a basic class or a firefighter, survival class. So that's nice too, to have other training opportunities, on the county level or the battalion level or whatever.
A couple of the guys that are on with us today have held positions in our county organization, and one of them is the head county coordinator. He's in charge of New London County, and then in New London County, there's 5 or 6 senior guys, and they just happen to be guys that if there's a large job, it gets to like a 3rd alarm or so.
Right.
Then they'll automatically get notified. He'll get notified, and then he'll find out who can go and give him a hand. And then we also have an incident management team based out of the same organization they'll send the whole when they go, it's like planning, logistics, the whole. Right. They can do that whole.
And you got to have that stuff. Every fire department can't have IMT capabilities. Every department just can't have that. So it's nice to have it on a county level.
Yeah, and that's what you have to do, right? Because we
got a hazmat. We got our county is hazmat. Our county's technical rescue. Our county is IMT. All based out of the county and training. Yeah.
So in Connecticut, the county system, some were strong, some were weak, and then after 9/11 and the creation of a state agency, they looked at all the maps of all the different breakups, and they came up with five regions. So our county was 1/2 of the eastern region. So if you look at the state of Connecticut, the entire eastern side of the state is all one big region. But that's what happened. And I tell this story. We were at the Shula's at the FDIC in Indianapolis, and a vendor had taken us out to dinner, and that's how the whole thing started. Because it was right after 9/11, the money was coming in. We had all this risk because we had casinos, we had industry, we had everything. And we said, we need to do something. And that's how the whole thing started. I mean, that's, 20 years ago.
Sure.
Any other thoughts on things not to do?
It sounds like we don't do anything wrong, which is nonsense, because I'm sure we do. But you got to ask my officers and my deputies what I'm doing wrong. You can't ask me. I'm trying to think if there's anything that we did that actually flopped or didn't really work very well.
Let's talk about it. So let's go. We'll take a left-hand turn. How have you? What's worked best for you? I shouldn't say how have you. What's worked best for you when you have that skirmish that happens at the company officer level, where they're just not on the same playing field, that they just don't have the same vision of where they need to go or what needs to happen. What did you use as a successful chief to keep everybody on the same train, for lack of a better term?
Right. Well, as you know, and as everybody who's listening knows, everybody's got a different way of doing different things, and most of the time I try and let company officers, handle. First of all, I always try and let company officers handle firefighter situations. Any firefighter jobs that are going on, any firefighter discrepancies or conflicts, I try and let the company officers handle it. We actually have a tight little group in our firehouse. It's very good. Now, if we get the skirmishes between company officers or company officers who are maybe not doing something that we're wanting them to do, meaning the three chiefs, then what I'll do is I'll call somebody in. I don't make a special appointment. I don't go down to the firehouse on Thursday night, say, meet me down on Thursday night. I'll generally wait till the next Wednesday night. And if they're around, I'll grab them. If they're not around, then I'll have to make a contact with them. But I try not to make it a bigger issue than it is. If it's a big issue, I'll call somebody right away. If it's a safety issue or something like that. But short of that, if somebody's just doing something, their turnouts are not right, they're not showing up enough, they're not conducting drills properly, maybe they're not wearing gear properly or training their guy, that's something I'll wait till Wednesday night. I'll call them off to the side. And I don't want to say I'll read them the riot act, because I don't actually read them the riot act, but I'm not a kumbaya guy, if you know what I mean. I'm not putting my arm around the guy and saying, come on, let's have a little cup of coffee or some hot chocolate, talk about how things are going. That's really not how I do things. I pretty much call the guy into the office and say, listen, do you know why you're in here? No, well, here's why you're in here. This is going on here, and it's not going to continue. Not real happy with that. That's not how we do things around here. Is there something I don't know about that you need to tell me about that? Which there could be. Guy might say, Chief, you didn't hear? What? Yeah, this is what happened. Okay, well, thank you. I'm glad you let me know. Generally, it's a pretty straightforward conversation about what's going on, not what we want to do. Any other reason? No. Okay, so we're not doing that anymore after tonight. We're getting back on the road, right? Because I like you. You're a good guy. You're a very good officer, but that's not working well for me. Okay, Chief, good. I didn't understand that. I wasn't sure if you liked it or not. Well, okay, so write this down. I don't like it. Okay, you good with that? Good. Listen, I've had very good success with treating people like men and women, treating them like adults, telling them we don't do that around here anymore, or we don't do that around here. Okay, most people need some direction. They need to know what's expected of them. There's some fault on my part there. If I have to call somebody in to let them know, it means I wasn't clear about what's acceptable and not acceptable. And most people in the volunteer fire service, in the fire service in general, they want to comply. They want to know what's expected of them, and they want to perform, so just let them know if they're falling short. Most people just get right back up and handle it. Beyond that, a longer term problem, somebody who's saying, yeah, right, then that's a longer term situation that you got to get some other people involved in.
Then we can take a different path. We head down a different road. There's a guy who came out of prison named Bill Tierney as a lacrosse coach. He went out to Denver. He is tough. And in his whole thought process is that's what the players want. And they've gone and won national championships. They want you tough. They want you fixing problems immediately. They don't want to
be led. Firefighters want to be led. They want somebody to be in the front saying, this way, let's go. That's right.
All right, listen, I got a question here and I'm going to read it to you because that's the easy. I don't want to paraphrase it. All right. So I would like to hear more thoughts on getting new members. So transition from the book classroom to the real world, especially as it pertains to keeping members from getting discouraged and stop coming around.
That's a great question. And we touched on it earlier. You got to make sure that your officers, or the people that are doing the training, senior firefighters, officers, the whole group of them, what you want to do is you want to always refer back to that, especially when you get a couple of new guys coming in. Okay, you guys just finished Firefighter 1 or whatever they call it this week. They're always changing it, right? You guys just finished Firefighter 1. You just went interior. You're ready to go now, right? Listen, here's some of the stuff they talk about in the academy, and here's some of the stuff we do it a little bit differently here in some ways. And it doesn't make it right or it doesn't make it wrong. It makes it a little bit different. And when you explain that to people, the worst thing you can do is send guys to Firefighter 1, have them come back, and then start teaching them stuff a different way without referring back to that. You always say that, hey guys, what did they teach you in Firefighter 1? And they're going to step right up and tell you, here's what they showed us, Cap. They showed us to hold it this and do this. Okay, listen, that is an acceptable way. We like doing it a little bit different around here. Here's like we, and then you show them something different. Get out of the habit of calling stuff silly or stupid. Oh yeah, that's how they do it up there. They don't know what they're talking about. That's absolute nonsense. If there's some, listen, is there stuff that's written down in lesson plans and in videos and at FDIC that's nonsense? Absolutely. But calling people, names and saying that stuff is nonsense doesn't really work. You just ask them, how were you guys taught in Firefighter 1? All right, well, here's another way to do it. Here's the way we like to do it. And you show them, say, if you look both of these ways, this is the way we want you to do it around here. And I've had great success doing that. Most guys, young guys, old guys, most new people, they're like sponges. They're very ready to absorb stuff and take advice and learn. So you show them, here's another way to do it.
One of the tricks or tricky parts of all this is, so we get the new guy, the new gal. It's thousands of dollars for an EMT class. It's not that it's expensive for a Firefighter 1. We send them, they get it, they're into it, and then they advertise the Firefighter 2. They want to go to the Firefighter 2. All right, so we send them to the Firefighter 2. Now they're starting to get the boxes checked. So now instructor comes up, or now Fire Officer 1 comes up. And they literally have stretched the line 3 times over that 2-year process. They literally are crawling. And so I've always been battling, do we send them on knowing that they don't have the foundation that they need, or do we upset them and not send them on and try to give them the foundation, knowing that they may go find that whatever they want somewhere else?
I've done exactly that, what you've talked about. Guys want to go like the Firefighter 2 or to instructor, and I've called them in and said, listen, I got your application for going to instructor, and I have no problem you going to all the classes you want to go to. First of all, they're free. They don't cost us anything. They go to the Orange County Training Center. Everything is covered. Everything is covered, right? So I said, which I don't even discuss with them. I said, but what I'd really like you to do is, if you're looking to go to classes, did you look at the forcible entry class? Did you look at the Firefighter Survival class? There are some great classes that you, as a young firefighter, I think should be taken ahead of worrying about even going to Firefighter 2 yet. Why don't you take a couple of the tactical classes, a couple of the classes with the tools, the Hearst tool operations, things like that. I'd like to see you build your tool capabilities, better, your tactical capabilities. And there'll be time to be an instructor. There'll be time to be an officer down the road. We'll probably have to hold you back from that. But here's something I'd like to get you to do. And what I do often is we'll put the class advertisement up, and I'll say, hey, new class coming up at Orange County Training Center. Only 25 guys can join up, advanced forcible entry, whatever it might be. I try and steer them that way instead of having if the guy wants to go, that's great. Then you steer him to the classes that might be more helpful to him and to the company.
No, absolutely. And it could be a good, one of my mentors said, 25 years of cowboy, never stepped in, right? You got to pay. This goes to the other side, what we talked about before, whatever recruit class they come out of, and now they go to a company, and the company says, yeah, you've got the basic skills, but you're in Midtown now. We do high rises a lot. Right. So we're going to be talking a lot of rope, okay? As opposed to you're in up a little bit farther up, and you're doing brownstones, or you're doing whatever. You're doing
a guy up in the Bronx is going to be stretching lines and forcing doors, and a guy in Midtown is going to be doing standpipe operations and elevator operations and all sorts of stuff, for sure.
Right. Yeah. So we've got to take that, and it's hard when you're, again, small and you're trying to figure out. And the other thing is we've got this class of 15 starting. We know that a bunch of them are going to want to go to EMT, and a bunch of them are going to want to go to Firefighter 1. And they're going to have to, not me, someone much higher than me is going to have to figure out with this much money, how are we going to feed all these mouths, right?
I'll tell you what we do for EMT and for medical training is we tell them, you go to EMT, you pay your own way through EMT. When you graduate, when you have your EMT certificate, you come to the company, we'll write you a check. We'll pay you back the money. So we don't pay for anybody to go try an EMT. We go to pay for people that pass EMT. So you take it on your own dime, get mommy, daddy, whatever you want to do. And when you pass, we will reimburse you for it. Yep.
Yeah. See, we had that same problem, is that the first one's on, what we used to do was the first one was on us. And then if they bomb, the next one's on them. We'll sign the paperwork.
Nothing's on us. We let them pay ahead. Number one, that shows a little bit of a commitment too. And then when they pass, well, talk about a commitment to pass. Holy cow, you want to get that money back? You better get that card.
It's $1,100. Down here, it's $1,100.
I wish I had more EMTs right now. I'd gladly pay for them. I would love the all young guys to go.
Do you do first responder up there?
You know what? We were very active for many years, and now we're pretty much out of it. Pretty much out of it. We go for just gigantic emergencies and car crashes. I have the basic first aid classes for the guys because we still do extrications and stuff, but we don't go on a lot of medical calls to the homes.
I gotta tell you what, down here, if you're doing medical, it's 65 to 70% of your work, and holding on to volunteers is difficult. The companies that are thriving in Connecticut don't do medicals. All they do is fires and wrecks.
Volunteer and career. My son is a career firefighter looking to change jobs, and he's looking for a place that doesn't have ambulances. And I have nothing against EMS work. It's very important and very satisfying, you know, but some people are not that interested in it. So
it's crazy. Well, listen, I know you've got to go to training, so I did want to bring up a couple things because we do shameless plugs here. So let's talk about 5-alarm leadership.
Yep.
Let's talk about you and Rick.
We have a great time. 5-alarm leadership is Rick's company. I actually have a company too, Fire Command Training, and collectively we travel around the country doing, I think I mentioned the Company Officer Academy already. We have a Chief Officer Academy and all sorts of leadership classes, and pretty much whatever you want, we put stuff together. But it's sort of an extension of what we used to do on the job. Him when he was chief, me when I was in the 18th Battalion and a state fire instructor. And we just have a great time doing it for folks that just want, you know, an outside voice. Sometimes you can train your people all day long and they just shake their heads yes. And then you have Lasky come in and teach a class and they're taking notes and buying his book and swearing by it. And you're saying to yourself, didn't we tell him to do that last year? And
exactly. Where have I heard this before? Where have I heard this?
You know what? It's so true. But we enjoy doing it, and it works well all across the country. Yeah.
Now you got a couple books out, right? You've got The Engine Company.
I got The Engine Company. I got First In, Last Out, which was my first book back in 2003. Still my most popular book, First In, Last Out. And then I got Rick and I did 5-alarm leadership.
Yep.
And we wrote it together. Great book, very popular still. And we actually have a DVD for that now as well, and an audio book.
Nice.
All 3 titles. Yep. Then I did The Engine Company in 2009. And my newest book, which is not out yet, but it's going to be out soon. Engineering is going to publish my newest book. It's called The Fire Scene. And what it is it's a collection of all about 17 years worth of my writings on the back page and other places. New York State Chiefs have the magazine I write for. I took all my articles for about 15 or 17 years, and I categorized them into chapters about the chief, the company officer, tools and equipment, firefighter survival, communication. And I have a brand new book coming out, hopefully this year sometime in 2022.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, you have that for the New York show?
Hopefully for the New York show, possibly for FDIC. I was just on the phone with them the other day. We'll see.
All right, we'll put one aside.
and we'll do another show when it comes out.
We could do that. Oh shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say.
How about my email? My email is chiefjohnsalka@gmail.com. If anybody has any questions that we didn't get a chance to cover tonight, I'd be happy to, I'll email back and forth with you, and we can get some stuff hashed out.
I just want to follow up with that and say, listen, John's been tremendous with me. We many years ago, John probably doesn't remember this. Many years ago, Billy Manning had asked both of us to sit on a thing called the Round Table in the magazine, where somebody would write a question. Hey, what do you think about searching while you're on a hose line? And that was, for us, that was meat and potatoes. For John, that was, there's already people in there doing that stuff. So, but we had a great time because we had Skip Coleman eventually took that over, but we had all these different views from different size departments. I ran into John at the New York show. I've run into John at several shows, but I ran into John at the New York show last year, and I said, hey, listen, I got this idea. We've got this thing called Critical Conversations. Would you be willing to come on? And he was on board. 30 seconds after I asked him to do that, and we talked about it again at the FDIC. John's been very supportive for it, and I truly do appreciate it.
My pleasure, and it's my pleasure.
So let me just, if we've answered a couple of questions. We had one about, John, do you have a residency for being a member?
Sapelman Grove, you have to be a member of the fire district. or an adjoining fire district that touches our fire district.
All right. Yeah, that's
And
what we do.
actually we have a handful of members, including myself, that don't live in the district. I do not live in a Sapling Grove Fire District.
Oh, all right. You live next door.
Yeah, I live next door, only about a mile outside the district, but and I get the Chiefs car, so I get there first, you know.
Did you see those kids from Maryland that drove up to the New York show? So there were two fire companies from Maryland that drove up to the Chief show, advertising for people to come spend a week at a time or a weekend at a time at their stations. They're over down by the college.
Wow.
And they have a live-in program, and they got a guy from San Francisco who flies in every 3 months and does a week.
There's places all over the country like that. Yep.
I mean, that's a whole nother game. It turned out one of our guys actually had bunked in at that station, once a month for.
I know of a few places, Geneva, New York, up at the top of one of the Finger Lakes. They have a very nice little city with a volunteer fire department, and they got like 5 bunkers in their main station. Guys that have a room, they got a living room there and a kitchen and a workout place and a pocket spot, and they live there full time, and they make the runs at night and a certain amount of runs during the day, and they always get a rig rolling out of there. That's not a bad idea for some places.
We used to have that. Several people that on here used to have bunk rooms where they had guys that lived there essentially full time. Right, we have a bunk room for it gets bad. So let me do a John, Chief, have you got anything else? Because if not, I'm going to go to shameless plugs.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, folks. So listen, we're really excited. We've got more stuff coming. So next month we have Chief Rund from Baltimore County. Chief Rund is one of 3 female chiefs that ring the Beltway. And they're breaking the glass ceiling up there, and we're going to talk to them. In February, on February 23rd, I've got Jason Patton and firefighter Fenton from Fire Department Chronicles. They're going to be coming on. They're going to be talking about their satire, their comedy, and how they use that and what they do for mental health. And as you guys remember, we did a whole series of 4 programs on mental health. And you gotta go to Fire Department Chronicles and pull up Murphy. Just type in Murphy, and because he how Murphy always shows up. Well, it's hysterical. We're also got a couple other folks. I don't have them locked down yet, but this whole series starting in January is all on people that have impacted the fire service. And then in April, we're going to be doing something with the Firefighter Cancer Support Network. And I'm hoping to do something. They'll be with us at FDIC every year.
Great group.
And I'm hoping and I'm hoping to do, they've committed to come on, but the timing is such that we might be able to go live from the comedy show on Wednesday night, which would be tremendously crazy good. Again, we have some other big names that I don't want to say they're committed yet because we're still talking to them. So that's for the show. Again, folks, we're looking for confined space rescue guys. If you get your rope guys, we're getting ready for outage season. Don't forget, we're still testing pumps, ladders, hose, doing all the maintenance stuff. So again, if you have some young folks, we're finishing up on the day before Christmas this year. That's how busy we are. We got guys upstate New York today doing some ladder inspections. Then again, we'll be kicking that back off around March. So we're really rocking that. We're traveling all over the country. We sent some people down to South Carolina last month. We're getting ready to. Looks like we're going to be bidding on going to Guam again to do the pump testing and all the stuff for the Navy out there for the crash trucks. So again, we're looking for help. We're looking for young folks that are not afraid to work. And again, matter of fact, John, we spend actually a lot of time up by your neighborhood. We end up a lot of time in Syracuse. In fact, we do all of Syracuse's ladders for all their aerial testing, just all over the place. So again, we're looking for help. Thank you so much, Chief. It was everything I was hoping for and more. So
thank you. My pleasure. I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Appreciate it. And I'll be talking to you again.
Yes, sir.
So for anybody that's new, if you send your email into the chat. Jamie will capture that and we'll get you a certificate sent out for this program. And then again, we're looking forward to seeing you all here on January 19th. That'll be our next time. Oh, I would also, many people know that John Oates retired from East Hartford. He went on to a really cool job doing data. The lady that took over as the National Fire Administrator, at the federal level, she left this company and John's taken her job. So anyway, I needed someone else to help us get the word out to the career chief. So I asked my friend Mark Scribner from Willimantic, and of course he was more than happy to do that for us. So I thank him, and I thank Jeff Morissette, and I thank Andy. I thank Tony Manfredi and for sending that out so everybody know that John was going to be here tonight. Again, about 48 hours, we'll be on Spotify. Thanks, Chief. Have a good, have a safe training tonight.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you all later. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.